if a process of inclusion and change is not embraced by a country's leadership, sooner or later, change will be forced upon it. And that may come, as we've seen, at a terrible cost in human life and to economies. The outcome of such convulsions may be very uncertain. Things may get a great deal worse before they get better, and they may not get better for a very long time. So this leads me to the development contribution which could be made to building the peace and stability which are the foundations for sustainable development. And I want to set this briefly in the context of this emerging post-2015 development agenda and how it could include priorities which would aim to address some of these issues. In this well-informed audience, I think people know very well that the Millennium Development Goals are running their course and the global debate is running hot on what should replace them. And there's a lot to play for because global agendas at their very best can set priorities, they can mobilise funding and partnerships around specific targets as the MDGs did, and the evidence certainly suggests that on the health targets at the least, the progress since the launching and following of the MDG targets has got far better results across the areas targeted than we saw in the trends beforehand. And I also have little doubt that the huge focus on enrolling children in school has been extremely beneficial in getting close to universal primary school enrolment. And would we now have 22% of the women's of the world's parliamentarians as women if we hadn't set a target for 30%, which we won't meet, but it's certainly better with where the century started at around 14%. So this next agenda is looking like being a bolder one than the MDGs were. There's a desire to go to zero on eradication of extreme poverty, children out of school, and hunger and malnutrition, and to finish other unfinished business in the MDG agenda. But for me, a major question is, will it also pursue sustainability of progress based on inclusive, equitable, and peaceful societies? Will it address the world's high levels of inequalities and marginalisation and issues of the rule of law and access to justice and accountable governance? Will it address disaster risk reduction and the drivers of conflict? Because we see deficits in all these areas producing major development setbacks. I see human development as being not just about lifting people out of poverty, it has to be about keeping them out of poverty. And that requires all the issues I'm talking about to somehow be addressed.